Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tending to Change. I'm your host, Jenny Juarez. So, the last time we were together, we talked about dinacharya, or our daily habits or routines. And I tied it to a discussion about the upcoming equinox on September 22nd, which is the official start of fall in the Northern Hemisphere. The fall equinox is a day when the sun appears to rise above the equator, causing day and night to be of equal length in all parts of the world. And every day after the fall equinox, the days will become shorter and the nights will become longer until we reach the apex of the winter solstice, when the day is the shortest and the night is the longest. So at the equinoxes and solstices, it's a good time of year to review our daily rituals, our habits, and to notice whether aspects of our body, mind, or emotions are out of balance, and then to consider what ways we could modify our routines to support bringing ourselves back into balance, back into harmony. And I suggested adding or removing only one or two things to your daily routines as a start. And the reason I did that is because, let's be honest, it can be very difficult, if not the most difficult thing that we ever do, to take what we know and translate it into what we do. I mean, have you ever had an experience where you were watching yourself engage in a particular behavior or habit, and you know that you don't want to be doing it, that it's not in your best interest, whether it's watching another episode when you know you should be going to sleep, or scrolling on your phone instead of attending to an overdue task, or having another drink, eating another cupcake, buying something with a credit card when you know you don't have any money? How many of us have thought this in our minds, even for a flash? This is not serving me. I shouldn't be doing this. And then we do it anyway. Or the reverse, where we tell ourselves every morning, today is the day I'm going to do X. I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes before I drink coffee. Or I'm going to go to the gym after work. Or I'm going to write in my journal or practice that sport or musical instrument that I've always wanted to learn. And for some reason, we just don't do it. Well, I can't tell you exactly why we all succumb to this tendency, although I would venture to guess it has to do with some mix of dopamine, habits, fear of failure, or even fear of success. But what I'd really like to talk about today is how beneficial it is to learn how to tap into the strength of our personal will. You see, your will is your inner strength to persist, to persevere despite challenges. It's your ability to access the depth of power within you and to act upon what you know to be necessary. We engage our will when we commit to acting out of duty or commitment or integrity. Let me take this podcast, for instance. It may seem, because I'm releasing episodes weekly, that this is easy for me. But it took me 2.5 years after a friend suggested it to finally muster the courage to launch this podcast. In all honesty, it was really scary and intimidating. I didn't know what I was doing. Frankly, I still don't know a lot about podcasting. I'm just learning as I go. And some weeks the topic comes to mind really quickly. But other weeks, like this one, I struggle until the last minute trying to decide what I'd like to share with you. Meanwhile, I'm a busy mom to 4 children, including a teething 1-year-old and a 4-year-old who recently started preschool. Life is full for me right now. And finding space and time to quiet my mind and contemplate these teachings, let alone write, record, edit, and publish, can be really challenging at times. There have been nights that I've stayed up until 1 in the morning editing the audio and creating YouTube videos to publish by my weekly deadline. And believe it or not, I'm not even making any money from this. In fact, I spend money each month on the platforms I use to record and publish these episodes. So why do I even bother? Well, because this matters to me. Because ever since I was young, I was passionate about exploring my inner world and helping other people. Because I know how hard life can be. And I also know how much creative potential each of us possesses. and I'm dedicated to spending as much of my life as possible to learning more and offering more. I want to inspire myself and others to experience a life full of delight and wonder and awe. So when I finally made the decision to do this podcast, it felt like I was answering a call, like there was something inside of me that was pulling me toward doing the podcast. And it's actually really hard to articulate that. But if you've ever had this experience of, I know what I need to do next in my life, and I don't know why or how I know that, but I do. So after dragging my feet, resisting the call for all those months, I finally said, okay, now it's time to begin this journey. I made a vow to myself. I said, I'm going to do one episode a week for a full year, and then I'll reevaluate and decide what to do next. But regardless of whether it's difficult or easy, I told myself, I'm going to do this for 1 year, once a week, no matter what. And because I made this vow, now I have to marshal the strength of my will so that I can stay in my integrity and follow through, even when the going gets tough. You see, while we each possess this profound strength of will and fortitude within us, if we don't regularly exercise it, it can weaken just like a muscle that doesn't get used. So, just as all the little mindfulness practices we do are like doing repetitions of an exercise to strengthen our capacity for presence, making a vow to do or not do small, routine daily actions ignites and strengthens the power of our will to go after the things we want in life. Because, as I've said before, if we simply live on autopilot, then we're going to tend to feel less empowered, like we're just being pushed around by our lives, and we're very limited in our choices. Autopilot is easy though. It's the path of least resistance because these are the tendencies that we've strengthened through repetition over many years. But if these tendencies are not leading us in the direction that we want to go, then it's up to us to generate the resistance necessary to create new tendencies. It makes me think of the second universal principle of alignment in the method of yoga that I was trained in, and that is muscular energy. Muscular energy is a stabilizing energy. In terms of the yoga asanas or poses, it's about hugging the muscles to the bone on all sides and drawing strongly to the midline and pulling energetically from the periphery to the focal point. It's this gathering of energy into our core before we extend the energy outward. It makes us feel stable and secure so that we can then open and expand. My teacher Benji would always say, you cannot have freedom without stability. And when I reflect on this on the level of everyday life, it's clear to see that disciplined effort leads to freedom. Although this might seem contradictory, it can be seen in nearly every aspect of our lives. If you apply disciplined effort to your diet, it will lead to improved physical and mental health. If you apply disciplined effort to physical movement and stretching, it will lead to freedom in the body, including freedom from pain. If you apply disciplined effort and attention to your budget, it will lead to financial freedom. And disciplined effort in practicing a sport or a musical instrument will lead to effortless mastery. You may remember the quote from James Clear, who is the author of Atomic Habits that I shared before. He says, breakthrough moments are often the result of many previous actions, which build up the potential required to unleash a major change. So while those very small shifts in your daily routine might seem like they're going nowhere, they build an energy over time that eventually catalyzes a quantum leap. It's kind of like planting a seed deep into the ground. You attend to it by ensuring it gets proper sunlight and water, but you can't see what's going on for quite a while. You just keep tending to it little by little every day, trusting that eventually a shoot of new growth is going to burst forth from the surface of the earth. A certain measure of faith and trust is required when we decide to tend to our own growth. Self-effort and surrender to grace are equally necessary. We do what we can when we can, and we let go of the outcome. Whatever will come of our efforts is not within our control. I was recently talking with a dear friend of mine, and we were sharing how challenging it can be to step out of autopilot and forge new neural pathways, creating new habits according to how we want to live our lives. And I shared with her how important it is to be willing to begin again. It reminds me of meditation teacher Sharon Salzberg. She has often said that the most important moment of our meditation practice is when we realize that we've become distracted, that we're lost in thought, and we begin again to focus our awareness. Meditation helps us cultivate resilience. We learn to begin again as many times as necessary. And once we realize how difficult it is to remain focused on our intention, then we're invited to offer ourselves kindness and compassion for this process that we're in. Now, imagine if, as a parent, I'm helping my child potty train and they have an accident. I don't tell them, well, you failed, so I guess you should just give up and wear diapers for the rest of your life. That would be absurd. I'm going to soothe that sweet child and I'm going to encourage them. It's okay, baby. It was just an accident. We all have accidents sometimes when we're learning. Let's get you cleaned up and we'll try again. Or consider a little baby who's first trying to walk. Imagine that baby standing up and taking a step only to fall down. The baby does not become filled with self-loathing and disappointment and think, I'm never going to try to walk again. I'm no good at this. No. The baby might have a little cry, and then they stand up and try again, and then they fall again, and then they stand up and they fall, and they continue to do that until they figure it out, until they develop mastery. So if you commit to stepping out of autopilot and establishing a new habit to bring yourself into greater harmony physically, mentally, emotionally, and you struggle and you stumble and you experience setbacks, that is not the time to give up. You put your hand on your heart, you offer yourself some kindness and compassion, and you say, well, that's okay. You didn't get it quite right that time. Let's try again. Let's begin again. And someday, all the energy that's been building will cause you to leap forward in a seemingly magical way. You'll look back at the distance you just left in shock and awe. And you'll be so proud of yourself and so grateful for the seen and unseen support you received along the way. You'll build self-confidence because you experience the satisfaction of overcoming the obstacles and the challenges that are inevitably placed in your way. And it will compel you to stretch even further beyond this new growth edge that you've just achieved. So, what matters to you? What is your heart pulling you toward? Today is the day to make a vow to yourself, to say yes, and to begin to step toward it. So let's end today's conversation with a seated meditation practice. We'll begin as we always do by taking a comfortable and dignified seat. Whether seated in a chair or on a blanket or a cushion on the floor, feeling your sitting bones root down into your seat as your spine lengthens and elongates upward through the crown of the head. Resting your palms on the tops of your thighs, perhaps bringing the tips of your pointer fingers and thumbs together to create a circle, which is known as chin mudra, and gently closing the eyes or lowering the gaze toward the space in front of you. Welcoming the breath as you'd welcome a dear friend. Gently breathing in and out the nose, one breath after the other. Letting your breath find its own natural rhythm and pace. Letting the focus of your awareness rest with the breath. your attention following the flow of the breath, in and out, one breath after the other. And if the mind wanders, that's okay. Just as you would redirect a child or a puppy, bringing your attention back to the rhythm of the breath. We'll continue resting our attention on the flow of the breath for a couple minutes in silence. Remembering that it's okay if the mind wanders. Thinking is what the mind does. It's okay. Just gently bring your awareness back to the breath. And when you're ready, lifting the gaze, opening the eyes. Just taking a moment to notice how you feel. What is the quality of your awareness right now? Thank you so much for joining me today. It means a lot to me that you're choosing to spend some of your precious time with me. My prayer is that you're receiving some benefit from these talks. And may those benefits ripple out into the people in the world around you. Until we meet again, take care and have a wonderful rest of your day.